Welcome to the Chute podcast with Jeff and Janna. This is our weekly venture into the world of small to medium-sized businesses and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives success.
So our goal here is to help you grow and to be the best you can be, both in business and personally. To do that, we identify and we discuss topics that will hopefully help you as you work to build a successful business.
We also interview business owners and executives. It's our hope that you may be able to gain insight on ways to help you be a better leader and provide a better culture for your people.
Our mission here is to help you pull the chute once a week to work on your business instead of always working in your business.
So we hope you find these discussions insightful, helpful, and useful.
And thanks for your support. We hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Well, welcome everyone to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Janna. We are so excited to be here. It's a beautiful sunny day in the Nashville area. And it's February, Janna. Can you believe it? I mean, what happened to January? It just flew by.
What did happen to January? Well, we had a big, we had Snowmageddon here in Nashville.
Yeah, we did.
That took out about a week to 10 days. So,
well, it's funny because Nashville's not set up for 8 inches of snow, which is what we ended up getting. On average, for the whole winter season, we only get 4.5 inches. So we got 8 in one day. So yeah, it did shut everybody down, but it was a lot of fun. The schools were all shut down. A lot of businesses were shut down. But got a little extra time, so that was kind of fun. But it was beautiful Saturday, 65 and sunny. It's going to be there today, so I'm looking forward to the warmth and all the things that go along with it. So exciting times.
It is indeed.
So Janna, we're talking about, this is a series that you and I are doing on leadership because we feel it's so important that we talk about this topic. And there's so many things that are lacking in leadership. And it's just one of the hot buttons for you and I. I know that we talk about this a lot. A couple of weeks ago, we talked just kind of as an overview, but man, I would love to dive a little deeper into some of the things that create good leaders and things of that nature. So I think from a leadership standpoint, it's important that we help our employees, if we're doing that, or people that report to us, just to know what are we as a leader? What type of leader are we?
That's right. And I think that's a great point, Jeff. I think it's important to find, we talk a lot about Simon Sinek's why as for a career path or for your passion in your life, but I think we could talk about how your why relates to you as a leader. Like your why as a leader. What style of leadership do you have or do you want to grow into? What do you think makes a good leader? When you're a leader, you've got to figure that out for yourself so that then you get the respect of the other people around you that are, depending on you for guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. So, for our listeners, if no one's ever checked out Simon Sinek's What's Your Why, go to YouTube and check that out because it's very, very interesting. It's funny. One of the things that he does is he literally says, go to not your wife or spouse or, a family member, but go to a close friend and say, why are we friends? And yes. he says that, and they're going to be like, well, I understand. And the struggle with that is that the part of our brain that the limbic system, which is what they call it, runs our emotions, but it doesn't run our words, right? Our thought process. And so it's hard sometimes we know emotionally what we feel, but it's hard to put that into words sometimes. And so it's a good thing to do. But, I think you're right. I think the why, from a leadership standpoint, what is your why is critical for people. And I think it's critical for you. I mean, if you're a leader and you don't know what your why is, I mean, if you were just thrusted into the role, take a step back and understand what it means to be a leader and what is your why? What's important to you? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be a leader? What do you want other people to feel about you and see about you? There's all these stats. It's really interesting, I believe. There's all these stats that say, if you can get people to buy into your leadership vision, that productivity will go up,
exponentially. Yes.
Right. It's funny. I mean, one of the stories that always comes to mind for me is Southwest Airlines and Herb Kelleher. One of the interesting things that he did was his why was that he put his employees first. Everyone says that the customer is always right. We're going to put the customer first, right? And the reality is that's not true. And the customer isn't always right?
Yeah. Yes,
But
that's very true, especially if you really know your brand or your
exactly.
business structure.
Yeah. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, if allowed to, customers at times can skew you away from who you are as a company and what your
Hmm.
beliefs are and all that because they pressure you. But if you stand strong behind your why within your business, then that won't happen.
Hmm.
Herb Keller, I mean, it's interesting. He started in 1971 and he took a completely different approach. Instead of, again, putting the clients or the sales first, he decided to put his employees first and
Hmm.
make them feel very comfortable about everything that they did. But he was very clear to share with them his why. He wanted to grow this company. But he felt that the only way that he could do it, and he again visionary way beyond his years. The only way that he could do it was to actually put his employees first, let them have this wonderful environment to work in, and he even actually changed routes and things like that to make sure that people had the right amount of time off and that they were
Hmm.
not, working days on end and all these other things back in the 70s. So, it's interesting because they really became an up and rising star in the industry. And the funny part is that other airlines that tried to replicate that
Hmm.
failed because they didn't
So,
do their
and
work
why do you think that is, Jeff? I think a lot of that has to do with, again, the person. You know what I mean? The person that's driving the train. I agree with you. I think other airlines not only have never really captured that whole Southwest business model that's worked so well, but I think, again, it has to do with the personalities of the leadership. And the first thing to me that has to occur once you find your why is that trust factor. It's that trust factor that you as a leader know that your worker bees or whatever you want to call it, your staff, your
right,
people that you're supporting, trust that you're always going to have their back.
right,
Because nothing's worse than a leader who acts like, it's an allegory or whatever it's called. It's where it's my way or the highway.
right.
It's been proven over and over again with corporate America and even small business that is not a successful business model at all.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because what we've discovered is that people they want to know what the vision is. They want to know where the company's going. They want to be involved in it,
Yes,
and they want to be part of everything that's going on with it because that's what motivates them, right? So
sure.
if they have a boss that's just always ragging on them and never giving any explanation as to why they're going a certain place, then they're more likely to leave and go find another job,
Sure.
just hanging around. And I mean, to me, it's incredibly simplistic, but yet there's still so many businesses that aren't doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you come in, you're the leader, and if you're talking to your people, maybe you're coming into a new position and you're talking to them and you explain to them what your leadership style is, and this is your why, because you want to be the best division, in the corporate structure, or you
Uh-huh.
want to be the
Mhm.
best small business, or you want to be the best leader. And so you share with them that your door is always open, that you'll stand by them shoulder to shoulder, that we work together as a team, that they do have a voice, and that we can implement some of their ideas, and open that door that it could just blossom. Like, it's incredible what can really happen. I find that, again, so simplistic, yet we're not doing it. Why do you think?
No, we're not doing it a lot. And I think another thing that is really important in this new style of leadership is knowing your team really well, because as you and I have talked about so much, there's so many different types of employees now or coworkers. There's the Gen Zers, there's the boomers, there's the Gen Xers, there's the people that are more extroverted, there's the people that are more introverted, there's the people that maybe internationally have language differences, or you know what I mean, even personal differences in the way they communicate. So I think one of the biggest jobs for a leader is to really understand your team, your coworkers, your people, and make sure, again, they're not only in the right role, but they're happy in the role. They're in a role that they want to be in. So
Yeah,
it's almost like you have to become kind of this little mini therapist in a way when you first take on leadership. You've got to kind of know your strengths and your weaknesses within your team. And again, make sure that they're happy in their jobs
right.
first.
Yeah, so true, so true. And that brings up another thought process for me, and that is patience when you're a leader, because
Uh-huh.
just because you want things to happen a certain way in a certain amount of time doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? People hate
Right.
change. So if you're a new leader and you're coming in and you're instituting some new thoughts and new ideas as to what it means to be a leader, it's going to take people some time. And so, one of the big things I want to tell people is, like, just be patient,
Yes.
stay the course, continue to be consistent. That's another thing too, right? So
Hmm.
consistency is really important as to what, understand your why and be consistently always following that, because I think people have a tendency to just, kind of go off where they think the situation wants to take them, versus if they can just stay in the lane. That
Yes, I think that's great. So consistency, patience. I also think listening,
yes,
really listening, and don't be one of those bosses that's, do as I say, not as I do.
yeah,
You
right,
have to walk the walk and talk the talk too, as the leader. Because really, in my opinion, a really great leader is somebody that integrates themselves within the team and takes on and gets in and gets their hands dirty too. If there's a big project that needs to be done, and rather than delegating, you I think you gain trust by getting in there and getting your hands dirty too with whatever that project is, to make it move to the next level, so that they feel that you're on an equal level with them, that you're not superior in some way,
I absolutely agree. It's funny. And I've used this story. It was in my book, but I'd like to share it now because it really is part of um, what people will do for you when they understand the why of what you're doing. Um,
Hmm.
Again, the why comes from the limbic system of your brain, which controls emotions. And as a leader, one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to just want to share your passion, when you share your why, share your understanding, and you're really going to connect with your people through emotions.
Yes.
And emotions is what drives loyalty and honesty and all those other things, right? So back in the day when I had my company Free Drive, one of the things that was interesting was that every quarter we would offer them a day or an afternoon out. We rent the back room of the bar,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
restaurant. One day we took them to a Cubs game, all these things. But every time we always kind of honored somebody in that session, right? And so this one time I was thanking them all, and I said to them, I have a question. How many of you worked a 40-hour work day for us? And this girl raised her hand and she said, you mean week, right? I said, no, day. And she goes, I don't understand that question. And I said, well, that's when people like Josh and Bunty, who are our database guys, came
Yes.
on Monday. And finally, I forced them to go home on Wednesday. Now, why?
Yes.
I always told them, please go home, because I know they like to work, right? Late. And I'm like, please go home. And we had given all the programmers this wonderful conference room that had overstuffed chairs and couches, video games, movies, darts,
That's great.
beer, a pool table, right? It was just like, as a programmer, sometimes you just got to step away and just go do
Yeah.
something else to clear your head. And then you can jump back in and it works so much better. And so, they would leave or they'd come in on a Monday. I'd leave Monday, go home, and I'd say, please go home. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I come in the next morning, there's a note, please wake us at 9. I'm like, no, you guys are supposed to go home, right? And I'm like, what happened? And they would say to me, well, we were starting to talk. And again, in that day and age, it was like the Wild West for free, because we were doing web-based storage and people didn't understand what that was and how it even worked. We were doing stuff that didn't exist, like not like it does today, right? It's everybody's how we live without web-based storage. We were the founders of that. And so it was really interesting. And so they would come up with a solution and they'd go, oh, yeah, that'll probably work. So let's start working on it. And before they knew it, was 2 a.m, right?
Oh, wow.
And then they're like, you know what? By the time I get home, I'm just going to sleep here. And so that happened Monday. And then again, that happened on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so Wednesday I walked up. Now Joshua was a very large man. When I say that, he was like 6'4", maybe 260.
Whoa.
I walked up to him and I go, Josh, time for you to go home. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, dude, you need a shower. Okay. I know you need a shower. But the point of that story is that um, they understood our why so well. We were changing the world, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
put them first. We gave them all these little, A, accolades, but B, just opportunities to be themselves and to
Mhm.
offer suggestions and all this other stuff, that they went the extra mile. And even though I asked them not to, they were still going the extra mile to make sure that whatever we delivered out there for our people that were using it, and we had, at this point, we were probably at 18 million users worldwide. But so we had to manage all that, right? And so
Sure.
we were going
Sure.
way above and beyond. But that's because we created this wonderful environment. I feel
Yeah.
like Southwest Airlines, we kind of followed their whole thing. We put our people first.
Yes.
And I think that makes a huge difference. And I think that's important. If you
Well, I also feel like that happened a lot more kind of, in the 90s and 2000s. It happened a little bit more than it did in the 70s, 80s. And but we're still struggling with it. I agree with you, Joe. I think we are still struggling with that. But it's been proven over and over again that it really works when you develop trust with your coworkers and your team like that. When you know your why, like you said, when you know your why
Yeah.
and you believe it, then your coworkers or your team kind of sees how you are acting through it. So again, there's trust set up that they see that you're walking the walk, talking the talk, so they have much more of a buy-in.
Right.
And I'm sure your coworker felt the same way. They saw your passion for it, so they're willing to stay 2 and 3 nights to make it all work. It's so there's so much proof just monetarily in general or just in general the success of a business when you have a team that really trusts each other and also enjoys socializing with each other
Absolutely.
on their downtime. That's a great indicator too that people like to go and spend time together, on their downtime. So
I think it's great. And the key here too is, this is obviously your topic, Jana, but the key here is to make sure you communicate your why appropriately.
yes.
And when I say that, it's like you want your people to understand very clearly your why. So that's the communication part. And you want them to feel the emotion that you're there for them.
Yes.
Right. And so
Yeah.
properly communicating that is a piece that potentially is something that you have to work on, and try and get
I agree.
because
Yeah.
it's key. It's really key. And then being able to kind of communicate with everyone as it ongoing. The interesting part for us that we dealt with was we built this wonderful environment, but then we had to keep it going.
Yes.
So how do you maintain that level of just inspiration and letting them know that you're with them, and
Hmm.
and part of that I think is sometimes having fun, right, with the team.
Oh yeah.
It shouldn't always
Absolutely.
be work, right?
Absolutely.
We used to do this silly little thing uh, that the guys started one day. It was kind of weird, but we called it snot races. It sounds gross, I know, but we had some slime. One of the guys had a thing of slime, and he took a piece of it and he put it in the nose of one of these Hawaiian masks that we had on,
Oh my gosh.
and we started measuring and guessing how long it would take for it to drip and hit the desk.
Oh
And-
my
and-
gosh,
but we did
Jeff,
so we
that's
did that like once
hilarious.
a week on a Friday. It turned into this amazingly fun thing, but it brought everyone together, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the key.
Well, I think all of that's important. I think like when you talk about an icebreaker, like when everybody gets together for whatever it is, a weekly meeting, and you throw out a crazy fun question where it gets people to kind of get out of their heads
Yeah,
and think about something that's fun or that's emotional or something that drives them. Then again, and it's twofold because then your coworkers kind of also learn something about you,
right.
so that later there's something fun that you can bring back up or make light of or whatever. It just unifies the team.
Yeah, I agree.
All of this stuff is important. If you don't utilize some of these personal things within your business structure on a daily basis like that or a weekly basis, whatever, they're going to lose interest
Right.
quickly because we're just humans. And like you said, we really do run by emotion. That's a big part of our buy-in and our connection to communicating freely and trusting and all of that stuff that makes for a very successful team.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the really cool part. So, whether it was back in my days at Harris Bank when my mentor was very much like that, whether it was free drive, there's a ripple effect that goes on, right? I'm who I am
Yes,
today because of those situations, because of my mentor
sure.
back at Harris Bank, because of what we did at free drive and throughout the years, all these things. And that's the amazing part. But it's not only my ripples, it's my ripples affecting other people's ripples that
That's right.
go on, right?
Because you're always touching somebody. That's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and so I think that's, something to remember, right? That sometimes, we talk about planting the seed, but we never get to see what grows. And then other times you do, right? And so that ripple effect
Yes.
is amazing. But it's funny. So out of the 18 employees that we had at Free Drive, almost every one of them has gone on to be a leader in another business.
Oh, that's
So
great.
whether
That's a
it's
good
CEOs,
testament then,
yeah, or whether they leave the tech or whatever it is, they became
Mhm.
CEOs and CTOs, and it was just an amazing time. But that's kind of a really cool ripple effect. But again, that all came from us understanding what our why was about,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
The-
Clarity is key. You
Absolutely.
know, no second guessing. Everybody is very clear about what everybody is doing and where they're going or where we're going as a team. That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for all our leaders out there, if you're looking to be a leader, so I'm going to wrap this up a little bit here today, but I really want you to, take a deep look into the mirror and look at yourself and say, why am I a leader? What's my why? And what's going to make me be the best leader possible? And that's,
Yes.
you got to figure out that why of who you are as a person and who you are as a leader. And how can you help others to be affected by that leadership? And how can you create this environment where they can achieve more than they ever thought they could? One of the things that we run into all the time is people kind of set their own limitations, and they don't realize that they have so much more in the tank. And they're like, I got to this point, and that's probably the best I'm going to get. When the reality is just a nice little push here and there. And as a leader, you can do that. Takes them to a whole new level. And that is, as a leader, that's the rewarding part.
Yes.
So exciting. So I challenge everyone out there that's listening to make sure you understand and know what your why is. I think it's critical for your success. So thanks, Janna. Thanks for talking about that topic today. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about it, obviously. And we're going to continue to do this series on leadership as we lead up to the launch of the second book that's coming out that's on leadership. So we're excited about that. We're going to start to release some chapters here very soon. So be on the look for those. Look out for those. If you want to kind of download a chapter and see what it's all about, we're excited for that as well. So Janna, thanks again for doing this with me. I appreciate you as always. To all our listeners out there, until the next time, stay safe and be healthy.